You're listening to the Shorts and Series Podcast, episode 70. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/shortseries. With over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. To figure out how you can help support the best podcast in the entire world, visit patreon.com/PSM. Best in the world. It's a fact.
Okay. I'm going to go with infuse our podcast with your awesomeness. Better slogan that you came up with. That one was better.
Okay. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. To figure out how you could help infuse your
your awesomeness with our podcast.
Yes. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. To figure out how you can help infuse your awesomeness into the best podcast in the world, visit patreon.com/PSM.
All right. Compromise. I like it.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Patreon. Because money.
Money.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by Patreon.
Shut up and give us your money.
I like that. I think we'll stick with that one from now on out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit too demanding and harsh, but okay.
Hello and welcome back to the Shorts and Series Podcast. I'm Devin.
And I'm Nick.
And we're back for some more Platoon of Power Squadron.
Yeah, we are. I'm excited. It was a good episode. Or
Two episodes.
2 parts.
Yes.
Parts.
Parts.
Of episode 2.
Of episode 2.
Right.
Correct. So what we're going to be doing is for the rest of the series, we're going to be reviewing 2 parts every episode.
For the rest of this episode. Not the whole series.
My brain hurts.
Okay, yeah. It's confusing. I don't understand really why it's in episodes, not seasons, and then the parts are not episodes. It's like, it kind of makes sense because you can watch them coherently as an episode of a TV show.
Yes.
But it's very hard to talk about the parts.
Yes, because we're so used to referring to this kind of media as series and then episodes.
Yeah.
This is episodes and then parts.
Yes, in a series.
So is the whole series one season?
Maybe. I don't know.
This is confusing.
Will there be a season 2?
Ooh, I hope so.
Go 20 episodes.
Yes. All this to say,
Right.
here is a clarification of all that was just said. From now on out, for every episode of the Shorts and Series podcast that we review Platoon of Power Squadron, for the rest of episode 2 of Platoon of Power Squadron, we will be reviewing 2 parts per each of our episodes. Does that make sense? Did I explain that good enough?
I think you explained that well enough.
Oh, well, Mr. Grammar Nazi over here.
Yep.
Literally Hitler.
Thank you. So let's move on and actually talk about it.
Yes.
As opposed to like meta talk about it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So starting with our thoughts on the plot.
Yes. Now we left off last part.
Yes.
With basically setting up these 2 confrontations between 2 creepy customers.
Yes.
We had the guy in the yarn store.
Right.
Who is stalking Virginia, presumably to kill her and steal her superpowers.
Right. Or lock her up in a government interrogation chamber.
Yes. And then we have the creepy, bookishly evil bookstore guy.
Linus.
What?
Benjamin Linus.
Yes, Benjamin Linus.
Yeah.
At the bookstore, trying to figure out how to murder kids.
And make them bleed.
Yes. So there we go.
Yeah.
We have those 2 villains, as it were, set up in the last part. And now we get the resolution to that storyline.
Yes. We start off with the guy in the yarn store.
Yes.
Trying to make a shawl with crochet hooks and a random ball of yarn.
Yeah. If I didn't know any better, I would say that he's probably novice when it comes to...
Yeah.
He probably walked in that store saying, I've always had a yearning desire to take yarn and craft it into something beautiful, but I don't know where to start. So I'm just going to take this random ball of yarn and these crochet hooks, and I'm going to make a shawl.
Yep. Somehow, that's an unlikely story.
True.
So
Probably, well, it was a more likely story is he was interested in the girl who runs the store, who looks pretty cute, and he wanted to ask her out.
yes,
Probably more likely than crafting a shawl.
it seems like it. So he tries to pay for this, and she kind of flips out on him and grabs him across the counter and threatens to perpetrate violence against him to find answers.
Yes. She wants to basically take his beard and crochet it into a shawl of pain,
Yes.
is what she said, I believe.
Quite possibly the worst craftsmanship when it comes to insults that I've ever heard.
Well, when you're having to come up with insults on the fly and you don't have them pre-planned, sometimes they come out kind of bad.
Especially when yarn is what's at hand.
This is true.
I have never found yarn threatening.
Yes.
So,
Yarn turns out on the threatening scale, not very high.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
very low on the the threatening and murder scale.
I just think of like old arthritic ladies, and that it's just not frightening.
I think of little tiny kittens that are like clinging onto the ball and rolling around.
Also, kind of pokey, but not threatening.
Yeah.
So poor threats aside.
Yeah. So Mr. Beard Shawl guy is trying to ask. Wow.
Drop my tablet.
Just throw your tablet right on the ground, Nick. Do you even care about the expensive things you own?
I don't know what to say to that, because I do. It fell.
So for those of you
Sorry.
listening to the audio version, you may have heard a thump. Nick just took his tablet, raised it above his head, and with extreme anger and vigor, hurled it at the ground with all his might. That might be
Why would I
hyperbole.
have done that? That's definitely hyperbole. I did not do that. It slipped off of my lap is
Yes.
what happened. I was rearranging my legs into a better
Which, Nick,
position.
did I mention we have a video podcast
Yeah,
now?
you could have watched me do it. You could have watched me fail.
You could have watched Nick disrespect his expensive technology. And if you're watching our video podcast, you can check out my pretty intense tan lines. They are to be glorified. They are very, very dramatic tan lines, and you can see my tan lines in all their glory.
Does she find your tractor sexy?
She does, actually.
Right. All right.
Anyways, Nick, shall we get back on track to the actual podcast before you so rudely interrupted with your disrespect for technology?
Okay. So it kind of cuts away from the interaction between Shawl Guy and Virginia rapidly.
Yes.
And just goes back to the apartment where,
Yes.
A less intense situation is occurring.
Yes. We have a dialogue scene with Donald and Jonas,
Yes, we have.
which kind of going along with the whole ongoing theme that we get in the Donald Jonas scenes of what their powers should represent and how they should use them.
Yes.
Now, this is an ongoing theme in the entire series, but particularly between those two, it comes down to how, why, and when, and if should we use our powers.
Yeah. Essentially, there's like 4 pairs that have different story arcs going on. So we have Donald and
Sebastian.
I was going to say Samantha.
No.
That's not it.
No, it's not.
Anyway, him and Sebastian are kind of pro, let's go find crime and fight it. And then Donald and Virginia are like conspiracy nuts kind of together.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then Donald and
Jonas
are kind of debating the philosophy of having superpowers.
Yes.
And then Sebastian and Virginia aren't really a duo yet.
And I like the Donald Jonas interaction because we get the deep philosophical conversations about superpowers and their purposes, yet in a very funny way.
Yes, it's lighthearted, but it has as serious as a note as you can have when discussing superpowers.
Right, and it also ties in with this ongoing theme of just outside of superpowers, what you should be doing with your life in your 20s anyway. Like, I feel like that's a common curse that plagues 20-somethings is, what should I do?
Yeah, existential crisis.
Yeah. Like, what am I doing? What's the point of it? Am I going to be stuck in this rut forever? And we see that Donald's concern for superpowers and how they should be used is somewhat stemming from where he is in his life working as a taco bear at a Mexican restaurant.
Yes.
It's like, am I stuck in this rut doing nothing? I went to college. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a piece of paper just to get stuck in a taco bear costume and have customers mock me.
Pretty much. And that's not a fun place to be, I would imagine. And, he says, I guess in part 2, that if he was crime fighting on a regular basis, the taco bear gig would be less tedious.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, most of this is stemming from a place where they're just not content with their lives, regardless of their superpowers. So much as to where Jonas refers to it as the tribulations of the taco bear.
That might be my favorite line from this part.
I definitely like it.
The tribulations of the taco bear.
And it's nice, too, because now we see that Donald has his own trouble customer.
Yes.
So far we've seen the trouble customers for Virginia and Sebastian being creepy Let's Murder Kids guy and Mr. Payne Shawl Beard Yarn Man.
Payne Shawl Beard Yarn Man.
That's his official slogan now.
All right. That's a terrible slogan.
And then we have Crazy Bear Torturer.
All right.
The guy in his bathrobe, it looks like?
Yeah.
Bathrobe and sandals.
I feel like previously had he explored the universe as Arthur Dent.
Ooh.
Was that guy.
Hitchhiker's reference.
He just went crazy at the end there and lost it and made fun of taco bears.
Yes, because obviously something is not right with you mentally. If your idea of a fun night on the town is getting in your bathrobe and sandals
At mid-afternoon even.
and prancing around a guy in a taco bear costume saying taco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's not malicious in nature,
No,
which is somewhat relieving.
just odd.
Yeah, but he's not perpetrating any crimes really that you would need to fight with electric fists.
Right. And so this conversation between Donald and Jonas continues forward, jumping in and out of the philosophy of superhero-ness, but also just targeting on their personal lives. And through that dialogue, we get to finally figure out what Jonas does for a living.
Yes, he in fact works at a comic book store, which is rather apropos.
Yes. And explains his vast knowledge of...
all things superhero.
Yeah, superhero lore in general.
His job seems awesome. Just discussing comic books with customers all day.
And he seems content with his job, too.
Yes.
Whereas, again, on this Jonas-Donald spectrum, Donald hates his job.
Right.
And is yearning to do something more meaningful with his life, whereas Jonas knows that his job really isn't contributing to much, but he's still content with it. He's like, yeah, I like what I do, and that's fine. I'm fine with the routine.
He's kind of working with his hobby.
Exactly.
So it's enjoyable.
Exactly. And Donald asks, well, isn't there anything that you hate about that job? And then we get to find out who Jonas's trouble customer is. McTrick.
Which is a strange name, I think, but...
Yes, but you know, that'll be my kid's name.
Don't do that to them.
McTrick Hagman.
That's a last name.
No, but it's going to be his first name.
Right.
I might even add a stir at the end, so it's McTrickster Hagman.
No, that should be his middle name.
Oh, wait, just stir?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. That's horrible.
I thought the point was to torture this kid.
It'll be McTrickster Hagman. And he will love me for naming him that.
No.
Be like, thank you, Dad, for making me the coolest kid in school.
So in the show, PoPS, McTrick comes in to pointlessly argue comic book lore that's unfounded, his arguments, most of the time.
Yeah, in Jonas's exact words, McTrick comes in to argue about nothing.
Yeah.
Which, Nick, you work customer service.
I do.
Is this not true for pretty much any customer service ever?
Yeah, yep.
You have customers who I feel like complain. Like, I feel like, Nick, there are just certain people in the world that get their fuel from arguments.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't matter where or why or how relevant it is or even if they're right. They just want to argue.
Yeah.
So,
there's an old guy came in to get pizza, and we were talking about how busy it was on Super Bowl Sunday where we sold over 700 pizzas. And he said, "You don't know busy." All right. Apparently he thought it couldn't possibly ever be busy because there's 50 pizza places within a mile.
Right.
Which is not true.
Yeah.
So, and he argued about it.
We have at our car wash, we have 3-day redeems. So if they bring in their little ticket stub within 3 days, they could get a free rewash, right? Guy pulls in, hands me this thing that expired like a month and a half ago. He's like, yeah, I want to use this. You can't, sir. Well, why not?
Yeah.
Because it expired a month and a half ago. And then he just cussed me out and argued. I'm like, it's like, why can't I use it? Well, then there'd be no value in it. People could come back and get a rewash whenever they want. And so it just argued about stupid things. Or some guy wanted to pay $5 when we don't have a $5 wash. I'm like, we can't do that, sir. Well, why not? Because we don't have.
It's not an option.
It's like, It's like me going to a dealership and be like,
Can I get a $5 car?
I'll buy that.
Give me your $5 car.
Well, we can't sell you one for $5. Why not? I'll take that $12,000 car over there for $5. What? You're horrible. Yeah. So they're definitely in customer service. There's always customers that just come in to argue about nothing, and that's McTrick.
Yes. Although comic book arguments usually more flippant and amusing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
In our lives.
I think so.
So that's McTrick. And Nick, you have a note in here about acting like a lunatic, which I believe applies to Virginia.
It does. Moving on from McTrick, who kind of has an argument, but then we move on rather quickly.
Right. Which just to establish that he's a character and we'll see him again.
Yes. Virginia comes home very angry.
Yes.
And Jonas has the, oh no, I made a girl angry face.
Which is never a good position to find yourself in.
No.
There's no winning in that situation.
Nope. And he very reluctantly, without a lot of forethought, agrees to say that he's there, which was the first mistake.
Yes.
The open window would have been a better option.
Yes.
Or putting on your headphones, pretending like you can't hear her, another good option. It's a good excuse for being unresponsive.
Both of those were open to him, and yet he did not take them.
Exactly. Instead, he said, I'm here, and then got tangled in his headphones when she approached him with crazy girl eyes.
Yes.
Which is not fun. When a girl is furious at you, it's not a good time.
Yes. Because she found out that Mr. Shawl Beard Pain Man,
right?
creepy customer at the yarn store, was in fact not planning to abduct her and lock her away in a government facility for testing.
Or steal her DNA. No, he was just going to ask her out.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, mundane thing normal people do most of the time.
Wait, so normal people just go around asking people out most of the time?
Well, no. It's a normal thing that happened. 90% of the time, it's not a government agent.
Okay, I gotcha. I thought you were implying that normal people, most of the time, every time they encountered somebody, would ask them out.
No.
Regardless of the circumstance.
See, that's not true, though.
Okay. I know that's not true.
All right.
I was just mildly confused as to why you're implying that.
Sorry, that was not the desired implication.
Okay.
Anyway, she's very upset with Jonas because he got her thinking like conspiracy nut that everyone's out to get her when really this guy was just checking her out.
Yeah.
And that's very upsetting. And she has the like girl desire to want to feel pretty and go out with guys.
Yeah, to be desired instead of... And she kind of forgets with all this like superhero mumbo jumbo and panic and tension that, wait a minute, I'm capable of living a real life of just like dating and enjoying work and hobbies and whatnot. Like I'm spending too much time focusing on the deadly implications of having superpowers when I could just focus on enjoying life. Yeah. And being around people.
And so she does. She is going out with this guy. Jonas tries to dissuade her immediately.
Yes.
Which is not the tactic you should employ when she was just very angry with you.
True. Although, I think that might hint at some of Jonas's underlying intentions when it comes to Virginia.
I think so.
He might be jealous.
I think he is.
I believe he is indeed jealous, Nick.
She like tells him to stop psyching her out, essentially, and then storms off.
Yes.
So they're not really on good terms at the end of the episode.
But then we cut over to Donald and Sebastian.
Yes, who have been arguing over what to do about the kid killer.
Yes, because they finally found out where he lives, tracked him down, which, seems a little breaking the law-ish, just stalking people to figure out where they live.
I'm not sure if following someone, because as long as they don't go into the home, I don't know if it's strictly illegal.
Shall we test this? Shall we do a case study?
I don't know, because there's no law saying you can't follow someone to their house if you're like threatening them by following them like super closely, maybe.
Okay, Nick, then here's our objective. Okay? next time you go grocery shopping, next time I go grocery shopping, we'll pick one person at random and follow them for a week and see if we get the cops called on us.
No, we would, but they couldn't charge us with anything.
I'm pretty sure they could.
I don't know.
I think they could.
I'm
Nick.
not sure there's a law against that.
It's called stalking.
Right. So the charge is stay away like 50 yards away from that person.
Okay. Oh, I think you're wrong.
Which is okay.
Anyway, so Donald and Sebastian find out where he lived. They stalk him, and they decide to break in and apprehend the foe.
Yes, but after pizza, they have to do it in the morning.
Right, because pizza takes priority over everything.
Especially those kid killers.
Pizza is, for whatever reason, plays a large role in this group's life. Like, their life revolves around pizza.
Which, to be fair, I understood more before I worked at a pizza place. I don't like pizza as much anymore.
Well, that's your own fault.
How bad do you think they would have felt if they had gotten there in the morning and found out that he had killed a kid the night before and they could have stopped it?
Really bad.
Yeah.
Was that pizza worth it?
Right, exactly.
Was that pizza worth that kid's life?
Yeah. They would ask themselves that the whole rest of their lives.
It
would be terrible. Yeah. So I'm glad that didn't happen.
They probably would not be able to stomach pizza.
Probably not. It would just bring to mind dead kids, which would suck.
Ooh. Ugh. Now guess what I'm going to think of next time I eat pizza. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
And that
and audience.
Yes, there you go. There's that mental image for you. Next time you eat pizza, dead kids. And on that lovely note, that wraps up part 2. On that cliffhanger, they're going to go apprehend Mr. Bookish evil library man
Benjamin Linus
in the morning.
Yeah.
And then there's part 3.
Right. Opens up with Jonas in the comic book store.
With his wingman, Spike.
Yes, we meet Spike for the first time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He is a regular at the comic book shop. He can read the manga if he keeps his pants on.
Yes.
Which is disturbing to me that that's a rule that he needs to follow.
Yeah. What precedent had to establish this rule?
Right. But I like Spike a lot. I like the way that he talks. It reminds me of myself.
Yes, it's very interesting. It's very logical and delineating in an oddly comedic way.
Yeah.
Like, those two don't seem like they should be able to go together, but they totally do.
It's like Spock in a comedy. It doesn't make sense, but it apparently works.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Well, all right.
I like it.
Him and Jonas are talking about women. Specifically, it's implied Virginia, that Jonas is upset that she's going out on a date, but Spike is trying to convince him that the date could be meaningless.
Yes. And giving him dating advice.
Yes, from his wealth of experience of not going on any dates with real women ever.
Yes. But,
so it's just conjecture.
So basically, go to a restaurant, don't bring any money, and then skip the bill together. And
that's the perfect relationship for thrill seekers.
Yes, there you go.
Clearly defines the two guys sitting on the floor in the comic book shop. Thrill seekers.
Oh, yeah. You better believe it. And then we are interrupted by McTrick.
Yes. We really see his maliciousness here. He's not evil by any stretch of the means.
No, just condescending and pandering.
He's... I suppose if like jocks are mean to nerds in high school and then you just get the nerds in the comic book store, he's the jock of those nerds.
He's
so he's like the coolest cool guy in the comic book store. So not very cool, but cool enough to feel like he can make fun of all the other less cool nerds.
So you.
Yes.
that perfectly
McTrick is me.
McTrick. Nick is McTrick. Nick McTrick. That's your new nickname. I like this.
I don't. I don't anymore.
So accurate, though.
I don't.
But also, you use the term jock of nerds. That sounds like a wonderful sitcom.
Jock of nerds. No, it doesn't. It sounds like a pandering sitcom like the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Like it has an interesting premise, but it'll be poorly executed for the general audience.
Probably. But regardless, McTrick walks in and basically just insults them in every way he could think of.
Mostly for not being able to score women.
Basically.
Yeah. Yes. And he's like, I'm married, so I can, do whatever I want when I'm just reading comic books to pass the time when my wife's clothes are on, is what he says.
Yes.
And that was That's just a bad thing to say, I think.
Yeah. So we know that he has God complex and objectifies women.
Yeah, he's a patriarch for sure.
Basically. And so he skedaddles, and I like that word, skedaddle.
Yep.
He skedaddles.
Well, he tries to be cool leaving, but bumps into Spike and loses all of it.
Right. And Spike says, if only we could just shut him down.
Yes, and Jonas does.
Yep.
McTrick walks into his house and collapses. Jonas at the comic book store says, "Good luck reading that comic with your brain turned off."
Yep.
And that would suck. I don't even know how to think about that.
Which is interesting because we now get to see more of Jonas's powers. He doesn't use them very often.
No, but apparently they're extremely powerful because that's a significant distance, and he turned off the conscious functionality of a brain.
Yes.
That it's scary.
And so we've now seen him use his powers twice. Once during Fight Night in episode 1, where he, I guess, telekinetic-did. Is that a verb?
I don't
Telekinesized?
I don't know. Use telekinesis, yeah.
Use telekinesis to throw Sebastian up in the air.
Yeah.
And now we see that he can basically turn off people's brains.
Which is very frightening. Although I will point out that I feel like Virginia's power to mess with time could easily counteract his, because most normal people wouldn't be able to surprise him if he can like read minds and interact with their brains.
Right.
But if she can freeze time, then his mind can't process and use, like, she negates his superpower. And that's interesting to me.
I never thought of it that way, but that's very interesting to think about.
So if he like went rogue or something, I feel like they would have a chance of defeating him.
Well, let's hope he never goes rogue.
Let's hope not. It would be frightening for the world, but
and
McTrick specifically.
Yes. And then you have a note in here about crime fighting regularly before the first crime.
Yes. So Sebastian and Donald kind of tracked this guy down.
Yes.
But now they're going to break into his house and try to save the kids in cages.
Yes.
And Donald is saying, I think we should be crime fighting regularly. But he says that before they've even started crime fighting.
Yeah, so they have no experience. They don't know the actual effort that goes into fighting crime. And they're just assuming, oh, it'll be easy because superheroes, you know?
He's so committed to his romanticized version of what fighting crime would be that he's already decided he's going to do it regularly. And I feel like he's pre-committed to a certain path at this point.
Okay, Nick, we've now associated you with your character, like who you are in this universe. Mm-hmm. I feel like you're McTrick, and sometimes Jonas. You're a blending of the two characters. I feel like I'm a Donald.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, I get super passionate and always have this super hyperbolized, romanticized view of a goal I'm setting out to achieve.
Yep.
And I overcommit to it before I've even started.
Yeah.
So
maybe your electric hands is why your technology always breaks.
Ooh.
I don't think that's true.
Oh. But, so I'm Donald. Let's just say I'm Donald and you're Jonas.
Okay.
Because you're the logical guy who knows a lot about comic books.
It's true.
And you think in a very orderly, delineated manner, much like Jonas.
Yep.
And I'm Donald.
Okay.
There we go. I like this. So you could read
All right.
minds and I could shoot electricity.
All right. I feel like I would win.
Yes.
So I'm happy with this.
You definitely would.
Anyway, they break into his house, the Benjamin Linus's house.
Which isn't really a house.
No, more like an apartment that turned into a vet place. I was confused.
That was kind of weird. I definitely think they shot in two locations. The stairwell was at an apartment and then some kind of like zoo or wildlife sanctuary that they were allowed to film in.
I feel like it would just be a pet store.
Or that. But there's a sloth.
There was a sloth.
There's
you're
some
right.
pretty exotic animals there.
Okay.
So I don't think it's a pet store.
Really just the sloth.
There's like parrots. I guess parrots they sell in pet stores.
I don't know.
But anyway.
They discover that he has been merely trying to find poorly worded titles for books that don't exist.
Yes.
And he doesn't actually have any children, just baby goats that he wants to scream instead of bleed.
Yes, he wants them to bleat.
Yeah.
For the petting zoo.
Right. The traveling petting zoo.
Traveling petting zoo.
Yep. And he's preparing for a murder of crows.
Yep.
Which is not how you should phrase that.
So basically, the resolution to this whole plotline is a handful of puns. It was like the
They're
longest.
not even puns, just like poor interpretations of words.
It was like the longest setup for a punchline ever.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, but
Satisfying though.
yeah, but also disappointing because none of their powers were
Utilized?
really used. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Sebastian was able to hold him down with a double, but I feel like that's not a super use of her power, really.
And Donald didn't get to use his powers at all.
Yeah, no.
I think the only time he used his powers was
The high five with the like electric fist thing.
yeah. But yeah. So we have 2 crooks down now. We defeated one of our villains by taking them out on a date, and we defeated another one of our villains by insulting them based off their inability to use Google.
Yeah. So I guess we're 2 for 0?
Yeah. So
2 for 2, I mean?
dates and miscommunication have resolved all of our supervillain problems.
Okay. So clearly it needs to escalate.
Yes.
Yes. But we're left with that cliffhanger. We don't know.
Now we have basically we leave this parts 2 and 3
Yes.
by establishing the fact that they now, almost like a child learning to walk, are familiarizing themselves with how to utilize their superpowers for situations that actually require them.
Right.
And basically it's like the training wheels for actual crime fighting.
Yeah, they're playing the tutorial.
I like that. Ooh, PoPS the video game should be a thing. Indie developers, you know what to do. I want to see a Kickstarter campaign.
Make sure it's 8-bit, though.
For PoPS the video game.
Yeah.
I do feel like an 8-bit video game would be like the perfect fit for PoPS. Like just for the universe.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I want that. Anyway, and so we're setting up. I don't think we still need to learn more about the characters and the situations they find themselves in and their motivations before we can introduce a villain.
Yeah.
So I think it's too early in the story to introduce a villain, which is why these were kind of like one-off like miscommunications.
Yeah.
But we're building up to that, which makes me excited.
Definitely. They're clearly, like, Donald and Sebastian are like chomping at the bit to get at an actual fight with their superpowers.
Right.
And never mind. I was going to spoil some of the upcoming episodes, but I'm not going to.
Don't do that.
I stopped myself.
Before you spoil anything, shall we move on to our thoughts on the characters?
All right, let's do it.
First off, we get to meet, perhaps, I don't know if he's my favorite. He's definitely my favorite side character. He may be my favorite character, Spike.
Yes, I love Spike. Especially in the later episodes, he's very funny.
And what I love is the actor who plays Spike, Sam, is like this in real life.
Really?
Yes. He is a member of a band, Driftless Pony Club. And guess who else is also a member of Driftless Pony Club?
I'm not sure.
Wheezy Waiter.
Wheezy Waiter.
Craig Benzine, he does the vocals. And Sam, I believe, plays the bass. I don't know if I'm correct on that, but he plays an instrument
Right.
for Driftless Pony Club.
As people in bands are wont to do.
And their music's actually pretty good. I own one of their albums, which I believe is called Buckminster.
I don't know what that means.
It's like an architectural... I believe it's a guy who did a lot of architecture.
Okay.
It's an architecture phrase or whatever. But their album... I've only heard one of their albums. But anyway, all that to say, he's a member of a band, and he's also... in a lot of Wheezy Waiter videos, just making like little cameo appearances, or if their band's on tour, they'll do tour videos. Mm-hmm. And he's like that in real life. Like, he just acts like that all the time.
So they found the perfect actor, is what you're saying.
He's not even acting.
He's just there.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even script this out. They just said get in character, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's funny too is Nick, we got the chance to interview the creator of Platoon Power Squadron.
We did.
Jake Jarvie. And we asked him, I believe I asked him about Spike, Sam. Mm-hmm. Is he that way in real life? And Jake was like, yeah. He was like the perfect guy to cast for that role because he's that odd in a very awesome way in real life. So
yeah, I feel like I would be friends with him if I knew him.
I like Spike's character.
He's, definitely awesome.
Again, because the way he thinks and communicates is just so outlandish, but in a way that's really insightfully funny. Mm-hmm. You know? That's the best way I could think of describing it.
I was trying to think of a better way, but it didn't come to me.
And for now, you may be wondering, well, he's just a side character. He makes for great comic relief. But what really is the purpose of Spike? Well, right now, it's to be Jonas's wingman.
Yes, he's kind of like a foil for Jonas.
And he's kind of almost like... because we set up all these main characters who are superheroes. Well, not superheroes.
Superpowered.
Superpowered.
Yeah.
They're people with superpowers.
Yeah.
They're not superheroes.
Exactly.
And we kind of need a tether just to reality. And I feel like Spike is that character. He is the character that us as an audience could go, oh yeah, he's just a normal dude. Mm-hmm. And he's a great, I guess, what's the word? He's a great mechanism for which the audience can see how the superpowered people can relate to the normal world.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I can see that. I also think he's a conduit for Jonas to be more of himself. Like the way he talks to the people with superpowers is very different from the way he talks to Spike, because he doesn't have to think about superpowers at all. He can just be more of himself. And I think that's important to see.
Right. He's basically a good reality relief for the audience. And he also serves a much more important purpose in future episodes that I don't want to spoil.
Right. I feel like we'd already hinted at that.
But he might be a guinea pig. What?
So far.
Spoilers.
Yeah. All right.
So that's Spike. I love his character. And then in that same scene where we have Spike and Jonas talking, and then McTrick comes in, and then Spike's like, if only we could shut him down. And then Jonas does, and McTrick collapses in his apartment.
Yes.
We get to see what motivates Jonas to use his powers, because he never really uses his powers that often. But I think with this, we can safely assume that frustration and anger is what sets him off.
Yes. And also kind of the knowledge that it's not going to greatly matter or be impactful, because he can turn McTrick's brain off, but then, he's inside of his own home. He's not like demonstrating his power where people can see it. So he's still isolated from the use of his power.
Right.
Like he's not going to expose himself, I guess.
Right. And I just love seeing that all it took for him to use his powers was somebody insulting him and making him angry.
Yeah.
And I don't think...
if I had mind control powers, I would absolutely use it when that happened.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I don't think this is too spoilery, but throughout the series, when we do get to see Jonas use his powers, it's always instigated by that event of him being angry.
Yes.
Which I really like about his character. It almost makes him... I guess it's a bad comparison. I was going to say it almost makes him like the Hulk.
Yep, that was a comparison I thought of but did not make.
Yeah, because he doesn't, get...
He does not Hulk out.
No. I guess it's just like a normal person. Like...
Superpowered normal person.
when I'm at work, I will snap at customers if they just grate on my nerves for too long. And I'll just snap at them and make sure they know that I was upset with them, and I move on. And that's kind of how he does. Like, he just bottles it up until he gets angry. He's like, okay, powers, deal with that. And then he moves on. So it's like little outbursts of anger that make him use his powers.
Yes, but I would say, unlike you, he doesn't like being traced back to it.
True.
Like, McTrick will never know that Jonas turned off his brain because of what he said in the comic book store.
Right. He waits till he gets home, so nobody will ever find that out.
Yeah. So it's a vent for his frustration, but not necessarily a learning situation for McTrick.
Yes. And for those of you, I'm assuming some of you watching have seen the whole series. Episode 7, the final part of Episode 7, huge demonstration of that. That's all I'll say. That is all I'll say. Let's move on before I spoil everything for our entire audience.
Okay.
I'm right on the edge of spoiling things because this show is awesome.
It is.
And it's like one of those things where, have you ever found yourself in a situation where like you're watching a TV show and your friend is like a couple seasons behind, and you so desperately want to talk about a plot point they haven't gotten to yet, and you're like,
yep.
It's almost worth spoiling it just so I could talk about it. But I don't, but I do. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. It's like, I want to talk. We'll get there eventually. We'll review it eventually.
Just stop it.
Shall we move on?
I think so. Do you have more on characters? Because I feel like we covered a lot of it in plot.
We do have a bit. Donald's dialogue. Oh, I love his.
We mention this every episode.
We do. All this to say, the writing is phenomenal.
It absolutely.
It's the dialogue is so good.
Yes, it's
so good.
It's great.
And especially just like Donald's because it's so oblivious and relatable for me.
Yes, it's very obvious that you relate to Donald.
And he's just awkward. Like, I think he's so caught up in his ideas, he doesn't really pay attention to what he's actually doing or saying.
Right.
Because he's always focused on his ideas, which I can relate to. But when Virginia and Jonas are having their conversation in the apartment, and Donald doesn't want them to overhear him and Sebastian talking, he, like, reaches out and, like, pinches her lips closed. And holds them closed for a good, like, 2 minutes. And she doesn't really do anything either. She just, like, accepts it. And he's just
what do you do at that point? Like, I would be too awkward to do anything, like, to stop that.
Yeah.
If I would try to, like, dodge back, but if they actually got a hold of my lips, I wouldn't know what to do.
Sebastian didn't look like she thought it was awkward. She's like, oh, yeah, I should be quiet, huh? And then I think she's too focused on eavesdropping.
Yeah, she's so, like, easily distracted that it like ceased to become something on her mind as soon as she was focused on something else. So
yeah, I just thought it was weird though how it's just so awkward. He just pinches her lips shut and holds them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to the whole dialogue between Jonas and Virginia, so you kind of forget that happened. And so when they cut back and he's still holding her lips like 2.5 minutes later, it's like,
yeah,
what? It was nice. It's funny though.
It was. I feel like that would almost hurt your lips to be compressed like that for so long.
True.
I don't know. I've never had my lips pinched. I'll say that.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Have you?
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
Can't even imagine it. I don't even want to try it.
Good, because we're not giving a demonstration here.
All right.
Shall we move on to our thoughts on the creative elements?
Okay.
Before we go anywhere more awkward with that line of thought. One shot I really liked, and I'm not quite sure how they did it, is when Mr. Shawl Beard Pain Man, a.k.a. creepy customer in the yarn store, a.k.a. nice guy who just wants to take Virginia on a date.
Yep.
Goes up to the counter to talk to Virginia, and then she, like, grabs him. When it transitions into her getting aggressive towards him, there's a shot where the camera goes through a basket and then focuses in on the characters. Like, there's a basket holding yarn, and it has, like, the handle over the top of it, and it goes through the gap between the basket and the handle, and it goes up. I'm like, how'd they do that? That's impressive.
This was when they filmed on that small red camcorder, right?
Well, I don't know what color it was.
Okay. I know they filmed it on a small camcorder, and we had a small red one. So that's the one I always think they filmed it on, even if that's not true.
Okay.
Anyway, I think they just were able to kind of hold it, like this.
And just, like, put their hand through the basket and film it.
Yeah, and I feel like that, while being very strange to film, would achieve the effect well.
Because I was thinking, like, did they have a line and pulley system? How'd they...
No, there's no way. I think they were just like, I bet it would look cool if I kind of did this, and then, oh, that looks awesome. Let's do that for the scene.
Or maybe, like, the basket had a detachable handle, so there's, like, they're just moving the camera along, and, like, somebody lifted it up, so it looks like the camera's going through it. I don't know.
Maybe. I feel fairly confident that they just stuck their hand through the basket.
These are the things that plague my mind at night.
At night? Wow, okay. Well, I guess it is nighttime, but...
Yes, it is.
Does this keep you up at night, I guess?
It does. I can't sleep because of questions like these.
Okay. I gave you an answer, I feel like. Can you not live with that answer?
Not until I know for sure.
All right.
We'll get another interview with Jake Jarvie specifically just to ask him that. How did you do this shot? Did you just hold your hand through the basket?
He'll say, I don't know. That was 5 years ago.
Yep. Pretty much. Also, this kind of dates the episode, but I still love it. The Lost references.
Yes.
Lost has been off the air. Lost has been off the air for like 3 years now, I think.
Yes. And I believe this was one of the earlier seasons of Lost as well that he was referring to.
I think this episode of PoPS was out in 2009, I believe. I'm not entirely sure on that. But that would have put this around season 5. Season 4 or 5, roughly.
Okay. So not the last season.
No.
But still. I think you like this so much because you probably spent as much or more time than Jonas's character on Lost forums.
I did. I spent so much time on Lost forums just like trading theories back and forth.
Right. Were they as aggressive as portrayed in the show?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, and I love this because Jonas is basically detailing what we all know to be true about internet comment systems. Doesn't matter where. A blog post, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Because the internet is based off of anonymity to a certain extent. And so you can just post whatever you want no matter how harsh it is. So people can just be like, oh, well, I have a theory about this TV show. And the person just tears you apart, right? And so Jonas is detailing, okay, I'm just trying to throw out theories about the show I like, and people are tearing me apart, and it's absolutely true.
And then they try to LOL it off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, you're a horrible person. I hope you die because your theory was horrible.
LOL.
Just kidding.
Wrecked.
And that's what that's not what I did, but that's what I experienced. Lostpedia. I'd always go to the Lostpedia. I'd always go there after an episode and make a blog post about my theories, and people would tear me apart.
Yep.
And I like all the...
And you came back for more.
I did. I like all the subtle references to the actual show that he made. Like, he came up with a fake username for, one of the guys posting on the forum.
I'm not entirely sure that it was fake. It could have been a real username he was making fun of.
Ooh. Like taking his aggression out on PoPS?
Yeah.
The Oceanic 7th. Because in the show, there's the Oceanic 6 who escaped the island. Stuff like that.
This guy's such a fan, he was actually there. Turns out. In his mind, he's there with the survivors.
Wow.
He's the 7th.
That's impressive.
Yep. That's how hardcore of a fan he is, Devin.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So I like knowing that the creators of PoPS are also huge Lost fans. Because I love Lost.
Jake is so nervy. Nervy. Jarvie.
He does have a lot of nerves, Nick.
Jarvie is, I don't even know.
You mixed nerdy and Jarvie.
I did. He is so nerdy and it's amazing.
Yes.
Like, he's nerdier than both of us.
Combined.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot.
I know.
But so Lost references for the win. I enjoyed that. What I did not enjoy, Nick.
Yes.
Was there's a little montage sequence as McTrick is headed back to his house.
I know what you're talking about at this point.
And there's music playing during this montage sequence as McTrick is going back to his house.
Yep. Royalty-free music.
Very royalty-free. Some might say standard pre-installed Apple loops that come with iMovie.
Yep, you're right. It is definitely that.
That music.
I feel like we've used that in a video before. Like one of our early ones.
I feel like we have. Well, and to be fair, this video came out in like 2009?
Yes.
Back when royalty-free music has been around for a while, you start recognizing, because you hear it in various places all the time and more people use it.
Yep.
But when a new batch of royalty music comes out initially, like, you don't really hear it that many places.
Yes. So like the first things to use new royalty-free music sound original.
Yes.
Almost.
And then
other things sound like they copied that one.
Yeah, so that was the one thing that pulled me out of the immersion these two parts. Nothing else pulled me out of immersion these two parts, with the exception of the iMovie music. I'm like,
yes.
That is so obviously iMovie music, but I can't complain because I've done the same exact thing.
Yes, also in 2009, it wouldn't have been so immersion breaking.
Right. And I still can't complain because I still use royalty-free. I have yet to use completely original music that somebody's made for us, or that we've made.
I thought the music for the intro of the caffeinated vlog was done by Matthew.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
Boom. Schools you on your own thing.
That's like a little 8-second stinger. It's not really music.
I bet Matthew would disagree.
But like, we paid for royalty for some of the music for this podcast that you're listening to. The music you hear at the beginning and the end, that's music that we paid for to use, that we did not create. We recently released a video on our YouTube channel.
We did.
Making fun of J.J. Abrams and his lens flares.
Yep.
And the music in that came from Incompetech.com, which is vastly overused by internet content creators, because this guy basically has a website where he has hundreds of songs that are royalty-free that you could just use as long as you credit him, which I don't know if we've done. We should probably credit him in that video.
You should do it, yeah.
Well, we credited him here, so that counts, right?
I don't think so.
But yeah, so basically, the iMovie music brought me out of it, but really everybody uses royalty-free music, so I can't complain.
Yeah.
We use royalty-free music all the time.
I agree, and it's not, nothing you can't fault them for it essentially, but to me it felt like I'm watching Pops. Oh, suddenly I'm watching a home slideshow of pictures from a Hawaiian vacation. That's what it feels like, because that's where I've heard that is.
Bum 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 bum. Yeah. iMovie. Yay.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. And that's about it. With my thoughts on the creative elements.
Yeah, other than the fact that it continues to maintain par for
Yes.
both episode 1 and the earlier part.
Yes, and we're going to start seeing the quality increase around episode 3.
Yes.
And then when it starts increasing, it's just exponential.
Yeah, drastic increase.
It's crazy. Just hang in with us. It's amazing.
Episodes 1 and 2, I believe, were filmed within,
Back to back?
Yeah, rapid succession of each other, so they were using the same equipment list, essentially.
Pretty much. And that being said, I think that about wraps up the podcast.
I think so.
So we want to thank you guys. We did not get feedback. It breaks my heart.
We did not. We got feedback this week for the other podcast, the PSM podcast, but not this one. So
no. So way to go, destroying my hopes and dreams, people.
wow. I mean, we
all
got
I do
feedback this week.
I just want to hear from you guys. That's the only reason I do this, is to hear your lovely feedback and participate in the
Are you gonna
mutual
cry
enjoyment.
yourself to sleep tonight?
I will, Nick. It'll be sad. The only reason I do this is so I could participate in mutual enjoyment of great internet content with you guys. But no,
Not enough.
I have to enjoy alone because Nick's not enough. So you guys should send in feedback.
The email is feedback@proactivesoccermedia.com. You can also leave a voice message on our Google Voice system so we can play it for everyone to hear. The number is 720-295-0885.
Yes, you could also leave feedback in the comments of this YouTube video
Indeed.
on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/proactiveslackers.
Or you might be able to see a little short film we made.
Yeah, we made a short film.
We mentioned that.
It's about sci-fi and lens flares and J.J. Abrams.
Yes, my acting is terrible.
So is mine. But the effects are pretty good.
Yeah.
So if that's worth anything, go check out our short film we made.
Yep.
And
I spend too much time doing these where I'm looking at the camera.
Yeah.
And so I notice myself looking at the camera even in the best takes.
well, way to go ahead and destroy that before people actually watch it. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So go ahead and leave us some feedback, and we also have some
We're watching something next week.
I had a minor aneurysm. I've recovered, and I can speak well now. So,
All right, me too. I'm good.
so I'm gonna try that again.
Okay.
Shall I?
Take 2.
Take 2. Boop. We also have social networking links that you could check out. Of course, as any internet-based company has, we have a Facebook
Facebook.com/proactivesoccermedia.
and a Twitter.
Twitter.com/PSM_company.
Because we're up with the times. We've got our social networking down.
Kinda.
Kinda. We could do better, but hey, we still do it.
We try.
That counts for something. So go check those out. You can also check out our website.
ProactiveSoccerMedia.com. If that doesn't work, please try ProactiveSoccerMedia.squarespace.com.
Yes, we also have our own personal Twitters.
I'm at ProSlackerNick.
And I'm at Devyn_H. That's DEVYNN_H. Also, if you want to help support us with those dollar bills, y'all, there's a few ways you could do so. You could do so with the Cafe Press store.
CafePress.com/ProactiveSoccerMedia.
You could also do that with our Audible trial, where you could get a free audiobook download and a month of free Audible. That's kind of awesome.
Choose from over 150,000 downloadable titles
It's free.
for a month.
Free. Did I mention it? It's free.
Yep, it's free.
It's free is the best kind of payment.
Audibletrial.com/ what is it?
Audibletrial.com/short series.
Short series.
And Nick, did I mention it's free?
Yes.
The only way this could be better is if they paid you to use their service. But that's
Unlikely.
That's a bad business model. So
it's probably not being used.
they're probably not going to do that, but you can still get it for free.
For free.
And then it helps us out too, which it's a win-win situation all the way around. You could also help us through our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/PSM.
Yes.
It's like a lot like an ongoing Kickstarter.
Subbable.
Yeah. You could help support the podcast and the company and our videos and all of that with just a small monthly donation, and you could choose however much you want to donate. Anywhere between $1 to $1 million. Might I recommend $1 million? That might help us a bit.
It's not going to happen, though.
No.
No.
You never know. We could have a billionaire listening. And you could be like, let's toss him a couple $1 million. If you are a billionaire,
No.
we could use that money.
All right. Looking at you, Bill Gates. Know you're listening.
Yeah, Bill Gates is listening. I talk to him on a regular basis.
That's not true.
It is.
No.
Nope, it's not. I lied.
Okay. Next week, what are we watching?
Next week we are watching. It's a rather old short film.
Okay.
By internet standards, by just normal standards, it's not that old at all. It's 5 years old, and it's called Lucky.
Okay.
And the character in this film is not very lucky.
Staying up all night to get lucky. Is that a music video?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No.
So it's unlucky is the character?
Yes. It's Lucky. It's on the YouTube channel Blue Tongue Films, and we've reviewed another film from Blue Tongue Films long, long ago, towards the beginning of this podcast, which was, what was it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Get it?
Blue Tongue. Yeah.
Films.
Did you have...
It was the one Spider where
Right.
there was the car wreck and then the guy got a needle stuck in his eye.
I mean, way to give away the entire ending.
Well, we've already reviewed it, so you know.
So clearly everyone's seen it.
Exactly. And we're reviewing another one of their films. It's called Lucky. It's amazing. It's
Yes.
so intense. It's very short. It's, I believe, like 4 minutes.
So was Spider, though.
It was.
So
But it's so good and intense, and there's so many ways I just sit there wondering, how did they film this? It's very action intensive, and it's one of those situations where you just feel uncomfortable in the best way while watching it, because it's so it's so tense and actiony, and you are fearing for the character the entire time, and it's awesome. So go watch that, and we will be reviewing that next week, next Monday, here on the Shorts and Series podcast. You could also join us the night before for the live stream. And we'll also be doing the Practice Slacker podcast on Friday, and you can join us the night before for the live stream there.
yes, we'll be doing it this week for show.
For show.
For show.
For show.
For show.
For show. And
That being said, we'll see you then.
yes, faux show.
For show.
Faux show. Faux show.
Stop.
Faux show. Faux show. Faux show. Faux show. Faux show. Faux show.